This seventh paragraph therefore contains the requirements relating to the mastery of resources and skills, the necessary communications and awareness, and the management of documentation. Let's start with the paragraph 7.1, Resources. This requirement is somewhat redundant with what has already been said. According to the commitments made, the objectives, the processes, it is up to the organization to define and provide the resources necessary for the operation of the management system, its improvement, and the achievement of its objectives. This is a global requirement. We will now see how to deploy it. Let's look at the requirements of paragraph 7.2, Competence. This paragraph is clear. The competences having an impact on the environmental performance and the organization's ability to meet the obligations of compliance shall be identified. Their acquisition by the relevant employees shall be assessed, and where appropriate, actions shall be taken to acquire these competences, including training. See next paragraph, 7.3, Awareness.
Voyons le paragraphe suivant, 7.3, Sensibilisation.
In this paragraph, there are 4 specific themes that must be brought to the attention of employees with the aim that beyond information, it leads to awareness. These themes are easy to understand. Let's just come back to the last one, D, the repercussions of not complying with the requirements. At the very least, it is important to inform employees of the impacts, including legal and regulatory impacts of non-compliance with the provisions set out in the management system. For example, pollution caused by negligence can lead, depending on its seriousness, to serious financial and criminal consequences. Along with awareness raising, it is time for the communication described in paragraph 7.4, Communication. Here again, it is a matter of implementing a controlled process to ensure communication in a planned, scheduled manner. Identify in advance the nature of the communications, the times, and the target audiences. This communication must be appropriate, precisely, to the target audience and take into account any adaptation needs to ensure that the messages will be understood by all. As with other requirements already discussed, it is imperative that the evidence of these communications be maintained. A small peculiarity of ISO 14001 is that it refers to reliable environmental information. Thus, whatever types of communications or figures are put forward, this information must be verified, cross-checked if necessary, to be accurate. Internally, communication must be based on the management system and must allow everyone to contribute to the improvement of the system. With regard to external stakeholders, this communication must also be thought out, planned, and deployed. Since a management system is formalized, the rules for managing documentation are described in paragraph 7.5, Documented Information. It is one of the basics of all management systems. The documentation created must meet the requirements of the ISO 14001 standard and be adapted to the context of the organization. Documents must be identified, reviewed, and approved before the release, and they must be managed to ensure that they are available, in the applicable versions, to the right people and places. This is also the case for documents of external origin that have an impact on the management system. This chapter on resources may seem obvious in these requirements. It is. And yet, commonly, ISO 14001 certification is courageous in the sense that it sometimes requires only significant financial investment to ensure compliance, on the one hand, and the achievement of environmental objectives, on the other. A large part of the actions dealing with environmental impacts, and therefore physical impacts, therefore involve technical investments.